Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing yet another episode in the new and improved Ride Wars series, and today I'm putting Nemesis up against its kind of sister coaster, Nemesis Inferno. So if you've never seen this before, basically the way it works is that there's a bunch of different categories which we'll run through in this video, and each category gets a score out of 10 for each coaster. Then at the end we have the total, and whichever coaster has the highest score obviously wins. So the first category is layout, and Nemesis, the original that is going to be scoring 9 out of 10 for its layout. It is one of the best layouts in the country, although it could, I suppose you could say, be a little bit longer, and that's why it is just losing the extra point. If it go on that little bit longer, it could be even better, but I mean, it's a pretty hard layout to beat. The way it's built into the ground, the lift hill's not really that tall, and it manages to get all that momentum. It's like really still going fast as it's pulling in to the final brake run. So Nemesis's layout's very good. Nemesis Inferno layout is only going to get a 6 for me. The start of it's really good. The pre-lift hill section's great. The drop itself's great. The vertical loop after the first drop's great. And then after that, it kind of starts to go a bit downhill. And towards the end, yes, it's intense, so it's got points for that. But I just didn't quite enjoy the end to Nemesis Inferno. Maybe if I go back sometime soon and get a few more rides on it, I might be able to judge it a bit better. But for me, the ending on the few rides I did get it wasn't very good for me, in my opinion. Next up then, we have theming. Nemesis itself is going to score 8. It's got the station, obviously, the theming to it's really strong. It used to have the blood water. It's a shame they got rid of that. Obviously, it was seen as bad for the environment. It would be cool if they could bring that back though, because the blood water did add to the experience a lot. And then you've got the whole surrounding area that's just got random theming pieces. Someone even pointed out the other day on Instagram that there's a gun somewhere during the ride. There's all just these little things that's all throughout the ride. The landscaping done to it as well is really, really good. The landscaping work they did to it, considering it used to be, from what I'm aware, a car park. It's really good landscaping they've done to create all the little crevices that it runs through. And Nemesis Inferno is going to get an 8 for its theming as well. It's built pretty much into an entire artificial mountain. The station to it is. And throughout the ride as well, they've got all the little cool pieces of theming. There is one of the worst pieces of theming on it though, which is that crocodile. No idea what it's doing there. It adds nothing to the theme. It has nothing to do with the theme. Well, to be fair, I couldn't really tell you the Nemesis Inferno actual theme. I suppose I couldn't tell you. If you know what the actual theme to Nemesis Inferno is, tell me in the comments. But the theme in itself is pretty good to it too. Next up, we have inversions. Obviously, both coasters have 4 inversions. Nemesis is going to be scoring 9 out of 10 on this category because there's not a single inversion in Nemesis that I don't like. The vertical loop for me is the best inversion of the ride, and the first corkscrew is pretty close behind it too, because it's that point where you really gain most of the speed to the ride. Obviously there is the kind of first drop bit, but it is that that corkscrew that really gives you the momentum to get through the ride. Going through that is really forceful, really good. The last corkscrew in the 0G roll, they're not as good as them two, but they are still really, really strong inversions. So Nemesis is scoring a 9 out of 10 on inversions. Nemesis Inferno only getting a 7. The vertical loop and the first corkscrew was at a 0G roll. The first 2 inversions, I'll say, are really good. Then them interlocking corkscrews towards the end aren't as good. They are still fun, but they aren't as good, obviously, as the first 2. The vertical loop on Nemesis Inferno right after that first drop is the best part of the ride, in my opinion. So only 2 marks behind, but it has just dropped them 2 marks, unfortunately, on Nemesis. Next up then we have airtime. Now, both of these coasters aren't really airtime like oriented, so the airtime on them was not like too strong. So Nemesis is only actually going to score 1 in terms of airtime. You don't really get any airtime on it, but 1 is pretty much the lowest I'll go for it. I mean, you could argue you get a bit on the overbank, but I wouldn't say you do. Nemesis Inferno then also getting a 1. As I said, these B&M Inverts, they're not meant for airtime, obviously. So airtime's not going to be the strongest category for them. So we'll just move on then off of airtime. Now then, throughput. If you don't know what throughput is, it's basically how fast they can get the queues going. How many riders per hour is how it's measured. So how many people like go through it at a time. Nemesis is scoring 8 out of 10, and that's because it has one of the best throughputs I've seen on a coaster, which is 1,400 riders per hour, 1,400 riders per hour that is, and that is a lot. There's a reason the Nemesis queue goes really fast at on Nemesis, and it is because it has one of the best throughputs there is, and also because unfortunately recently it's not become too popular. I suppose that's more with the GP enthusiasts. We all love it, but the GP are kind of neglecting it a bit, and I hope it doesn't result in what a lot of people think it might do, which is the removal of it. Moving on then to Nemesis Inferno, scoring 6 out of 10. It's still a really, really good throughput at 1,150 riders per hour. You often get big queues on Nemesis Inferno. The first time I went on it, I waited a good 40 to 50 minutes, but that was because of temporary closure due to wet weather. During that big cattle pen bit in the middle, I was stood there for a while in the rain, which is a bit annoying, but I mean, you can't have everything, I suppose. So we did have to wait there for a while. Next up, this is the overall experience on the 2 rides then, and this is kind of just everything, the ride itself, the theme, just all that, you know. So Nemesis scoring a very, very well-deserved 9 out of 10. It was my number 1 coaster for a while. It has really strong theming, and the ride itself, it's one of the most intense coasters you'll get in the UK. That is. Nemesis Inferno then, obviously you've seen the picture there from the in-betweeners. I don't think Will there had the best experience on it, but my experience was still pretty good. They got 8 out of 10 for it, so not as good as Nemesis, but it's still a good coaster in terms of the overall experience for me, Nemesis Inferno. And as I've said before, it was just that little bit at the end that kind of let it down for me. So then the total, if you've been counting along, you'll know that Nemesis has scored 44 points, the best any coaster's done so far on the Ride vs Ride series. Nemesis Inferno, has it managed to beat it? No, it hasn't, just lagging behind at 36. 8 points was all that was in it, but it was enough for Nemesis to pick up the victory. There you go, Nemesis wins with the overly distorted image of it going over the vertical loop. And for me, Nemesis won because it is a very strong coaster. Easily for me beats Nemesis Inferno. Nemesis Inferno, the ending to it just lets it down, and to be fair, my only criticism of Nemesis is it could be a little longer, but I mean, yeah, I'm not arguing, it's one of the best coasters I've been on in a long time. So Nemesis is going to be the winner of this ride war. Tell me in the comments below who you think should have won, and until next time guys, goodbye.